The last battle before the end. Okinawa was supposed to be the final step. One last island. One last push. One last battle before Japan collapsed. But Okinawa became something else. A battle so brutal, so costly, that it forced American leaders to ask a question they had never faced before. What if victory itself cost too much? This is not just a story about combat. This is the story of the moment when the war stopped being about winning and started being about survival. This is Okinawa. Why Okinawa matters. Okinawa was not just another island. It was Japan's last defensive barrier, the final shield before the home islands. If Okinawa fell, Japan itself would be exposed. Both sides understood this, and because they understood it, neither side planned to surrender. What followed would become the bloodiest battle of the Pacific War, and the key to understanding how the war truly ended. After Iwo Jima, by the spring of 1945, the Pacific War had changed. Midway had broken Japan's naval power. Guadalcanal had proven America could fight on land. Iwo Jima had shown how costly every step forward would be. But Okinawa was different. It was larger, closer to Japan, and defended with a new strategy. Japan no longer planned to defeat the Americans at sea. Instead, it planned to bleed them dry on land. Overwhelming force, limited expectations. The American plan was massive. Hundreds of ships, thousands of aircraft, an invasion force unlike anything seen before. But even with this power, commanders knew the truth. Okinawa would not be easy, and it would not be quick. They expected resistance. What they did not expect was how the Japanese would fight. A war of attrition. Japan had learned from defeat. Instead of defending the beaches, Japanese forces withdrew inland. They built tunnels, fortifications, hidden positions. The goal was not to stop the invasion. The goal was to slow it. Every hill would be contested. Every advance paid for in blood. Okinawa would become a war measured in days and graves. The Baudu Tesoro was still closed, but the cost of opening it was becoming clear. When silence felt wrong, the landings on Okinawa were quiet. No heavy resistance. No beaches soaked in blood. No immediate counterattack. For a brief moment, it felt like the plan had worked. Troops advanced inland, almost unopposed. Supplies were unloaded efficiently. Positions were secured faster than expected. But the silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a trap. The island reveals itself. As American forces pushed inland, the terrain changed. Hills replaced beaches. Mud replaced sand. Visibility disappeared. The Japanese were no longer invisible. They were everywhere and nowhere. Gunfire erupted from hidden positions. Mortars fell without warning. Every advance exposed new threats. Okinawa was not being defended. It was consuming those who entered it. No clear enemy. No clear end. There were no clear front lines at Okinawa. The enemy did not charge. They waited. Snipers fired from caves. Machine guns erupted from ridges. Tunnels allowed defenders to vanish and reappear. Progress was measured in yards, sometimes in inches. Each gain came at a cost that felt disproportionate. The battle slowed, but the casualties did not. The Kamikaze campaign. While ground forces struggled inland, a new threat emerged at sea. Kamikaze attacks. Japanese pilots flew with a single objective: to die, and take as many ships with them as possible. American sailors watched planes dive directly toward them. There was no negotiation, no retreat, only seconds to react. The sea around Okinawa became a graveyard of steel and fire, beyond physical wounds. By the middle of the campaign, exhaustion was everywhere, not just in bodies, but in minds. Soldiers fought without clear milestones, without visible progress, without certainty. Sleep was rare. Relief rotations were limited. The battle no longer felt like a step toward victory. It felt endless, and the Baudu Tesoro remained closed. When progress became punishment, as weeks passed, the battle intensified. Every ridge became a fortress, every cave a potential ambush. American forces attacked positions that could not be seen. Japanese defenders fought knowing there would be no retreat. Flamethrowers were used not out of cruelty, but necessity. The fighting was relentless. Victory no longer felt like advancement. It felt like endurance. Defeat without surrender. Japanese resistance did not break suddenly. It eroded. Units fought until ammunition ran out. then continued with improvised weapons. Command structures collapsed. Communication failed. Yet surrender remained rare. For many defenders, death was seen as duty. Okinawa became a battle not just against soldiers, but against ideology. The hidden tragedy. Okinawa was not an empty battlefield. Civilians lived on the island. Families, children, elderly. They were caught between two armies. Some were forced into caves. Others were told surrender meant death. Fear spread faster than information. The civilian toll became one of the darkest chapters of the battle, and one of the least discussed. Victory at what cost? As casualties mounted, American leaders took notice. Okinawa was supposed to be a preview, a test of what an invasion of Japan might look like. The numbers were alarming. If Okinawa required this cost, what would the home islands demand? The Baudu Tesoro was opening, and inside it was a question that would shape history. Why Okinawa changed the war's ending? Okinawa did not end the war, but it changed how the war would end. It showed that Japan would not collapse easily. That resistance would be total. That victory would come with unimaginable cost. The lessons of Okinawa echoed far beyond the island. They reached Washington. They reached decision-makers. And they would soon influence the most consequential choice of the war. The Baudu Tesoro was now open. The battle that forced a choice. When the fighting on Okinawa finally ended, there was no celebration. There were no cheers. No sense of triumph. Only silence. The island was devastated. The landscape unrecognizable. The cost impossible to ignore. American forces had won. But victory felt different here. Okinawa had revealed a truth no strategy paper could hide. That if this was the price of one island, the price of invading Japan itself would be far greater. For the first time, the question was no longer how to win the war. It was how many lives victory would require. Okinawa became more than a battle. It became a warning. A final lesson written in blood, mud, and exhaustion. And that lesson would soon shape a decision that changed the world forever. This was Okinawa. Not the end of the war, but the moment the war's ending became inevitable.